And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bench with Bubba, episode 766. Coming at you on a Tuesday. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day. Enjoy the extra day off for Hope Mini and had some fun, friends, family, whatever you're up to out there. And maybe watched a full day of baseball. Who knows? All kinds of good stuff going on around the Diamonds. We're here to recap your week in FAAB, your week 10 FAAB, over a third of the way through the season, which is crazy to think about. But before we get to that, you can follow me on Twitter at BDintric and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at BreakingBen_T. Ben Tid, how are we doing, my friend?
Doing great, Bubba. Yeah, you're saying it's over a third of the way done. I kind of wish it would slow down a little bit, but
I'm with you. With you there. Yes.
Yeah. I haven't watched as much as I would like to, but hopefully try to squeeze a little. Well, at least like with the Yankees this week, they're all on the West Coast, so it's a little tricky to get all the games in. But yeah, so it's crazy. I mean, like we wait all offseason for the season to get here, and now finally it's already 10 weeks in, and we're like, where to go? But that's what happens every year.
Every single year, like the only thing saving me, helping me watch a lot of games is when I'm in the office here, which is most evenings. The big inning on MLB the package is freaking awesome. It's the first year I ordered the MLB, whatever the app bat or whatever, and this MLB big inning thing is great. It keeps me up to date on multiple things going on at once, so that's always good. But yeah, a third of the way through, a little over a third, I meant to say through, which is crazy, like you said. Sadly, it'll be over before we know it. I actually, I was going to mention it on tonight's Bubba and the Bloom, but I'll mention it there too. Literally about an hour ago, booked my FPAS airfare, so we got that going for us. Because for anybody sleeping under a rock, if you don't listen to this by Thursday, you have basically through Wednesday to book a Southwest flight and still get your free bags before that all changes. So something to think about if you plan on traveling Southwest anytime soon. And they did not pay me for this. All right. Just want to clarify that real quick because I'm just trying to get through some gift cards because I probably won't ever fly with them again once they start charging.
You still need that first sponsor for Bubba and the Bloom. You got to put some feelers out there.
Yeah, we were all over them. Once they took away our free golf bag, basically, that went out the window. And now I'm going to fly Comfort instead if I'm paying for bags. Is how this one goes. All right, let's get to it. A little bit of news and notes going into this. Obviously, if you need more, the Patreon, I drop news and notes in there pretty much 5-6 times a week, give or take. And then we have Breakfast with Bubba's back now that, knock on wood, internet is back up and running. Alex Bregman went on the IL over the weekend, Ben, with a serious quad injury. They're expecting him to miss a good amount of time, is the words right now. There has not been a straight grade to the strain or anything in those lines. Marcelo Meyer got called up. We will talk about him a little later for sure. Any thoughts on the Bregman situation? Because he was having a heck of a season.
He was, and he was dropped in one of my main events, so that's a little telling. Ooh, I think at least one. And we're definitely going to talk about his replacement in the FAAB recap. So it's basically a 1-for-1 switch. And if you weren't able to grab Marcelo Meyer, then you missed out this past Sunday. So I would try to hold Bregman. I don't have him on any of my teams, even DC's. So I kind of dodged this bullet, luckily. But yeah, he was, I think, almost batting 300, had 30 runs, 30 RBIs. I think he had like 11 homers. So he was having a great year. It's unfortunate for whoever had Bregman on their teams.
Very unfortunate for sure. I would definitely hold as long as possible. I'll have to kind of wait and see. Something to monitor that just took place, Ben, as you were talking. Nathan Eovaldi leaves the game with no news just yet, but can't be good, according to Beat Reporter.
That's
bottom of the second inning. He has thrown 2 scoreless innings, 39 pitches, left the game. So, yeah, not great, Bob. Not great. Something to keep an eye on that one. As Uncle Ted in the chat said, Bryce Harper left the game on Tuesday after getting hit in the elbow by Spencer Strider. So that's another one to keep an eye on. Lots of those kind of news. We got the strict IL stuff. So I'm with you. Let's hold Bregman at least till we get to a more definite timeline for him. Michael King to the IL. He said he slept on his shoulder wrong, and then it turns out he has a shoulder impingement, so he goes to the IL. The team is not concerned, but anytime we hear shoulder, I always get concerned. King was having a pretty good year. Ben, I'm obviously not dropping him just yet, but any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird injury to have. I doubt they're hiding something, but you never know. It's just, how's he sleeping? I don't understand. I never hurt myself sleeping. I knock on wood. I don't know if you have, but
you're young. I'm just kidding.
Well, all right, maybe one day. But I mean, their rotation's a mess though. They have Pivetta and Cease, and then it's Vasquez, Kolek, and they're missing a fifth. So, and Darvish isn't really ready yet. Musgrove's out for the year. Waldron, he must have the Mania oblique because he's been out for 2 months with his. So not really sure yet. I don't know if you heard about a replacement for.
Well, what they're doing is, weirdly enough, Pavetta's even having his start pushed back from Wednesday to Friday to give him more rest. No injury diagnosis to that. So cross your fingers there, obviously. They're going to call up Kyle Hart to pitch on Wednesday. I'm guessing Kyle Hart goes into the rotation until Yu Darvish is ready, but Yu Darvish had a setback. He did play catch before Monday's game, so wait and see on that one as well. But yeah, it's not a great time in San Diego. They were looking real good there for a while with everybody healthy, but things are getting banged up rather quickly. All right, Miguel Amaya went to the IL with an oblique injury for the Chicago Cubs. Reese McGuire got recalled, hit 2 home runs in the first game back. We got Carson Kelly, who's been swinging it well, but has slowed down a ton over last month. As we talked last week, I dropped him in some formats. Earlier today, before the show, Ben, the Cubs came out and said Miguel Amaya is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with the injury. With that news, if you're a Miguel Amaya manager, are you thinking about dropping him this weekend?
I'm not, but I feel like you probably have to, especially in an NFBC format. And even with an IL, I don't think Miguel Amaya is worthy of a stash in that kind of league. He was doing well, 280 with only 4 homers, 14 runs, so not even that productive. But I guess in catcher terms, it could be worse. So we had a good last week, actually. A homer, 5 RBIs, 9 at bats. Yeah, you probably have to drop him. And maybe if you were a Miguel Amaya manager and you want to get him back, just add him back like a week early. Try to be on top of the news. But I think you could probably do better with that roster spot right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. A lot of discussion's been going around about having multiple catchers on your roster, and there are a lot of good catchers right now. It's been a popular topic in the Discords. Like I'm starting 3 catchers in certain leagues because technically Wilson Contreras counts as a catcher, so on and so forth. But Miguel Amaya, as much as we love him, as great of a season as he's having, out 4 to 6 weeks is a drop in a non-IL format. And again, like you said, you might have better IL options as well. So sadly a drop. Keep an eye on it, but I would definitely not go in that scenario and hold him. Jock Jams to the IL with a broken hand. He's going to be out for at least a month in that scenario. Alejandro Osuna got called up. He will be a potentially popular FAAB pickup next week. He was not really eligible this week. Started the season in AA, played a handful of games at AAA before getting called up. Any thoughts on the Jock Jams thing? He was already dropped in my teams.
Yeah, I actually added him. I remember I added him last week in that one main event. It's been doing really well.
He was starting to swing it like there were signs.
Well, I think it was okay. He's been so bad for so long. He's probably going to go on a hot streak at some point. So hopefully just roster him for that. And unfortunately, he got hurt. And I think I made the joke that he probably had the broken hand all along. That's how he was playing. But yeah, Ozuna has only faced righties so far. So, but Russell Resource has him in a platoon. He's a left-handed batter. I'm not sure what the rest of the week looks like for the Rangers, but yeah, I guess now he's actually available, Ozuna, because he started at least in NFBC formats because he played on Sunday and the day lag wasn't there for him to be in the player pool. But now you can pick him up this upcoming Sunday. And how's he done so far, Ozuna? Do you know?
He had a couple of hits. I did actually look at him the other day. I'll pull it up right now because I liked him. I actually wrote about him for PT Tomorrow at HQ a couple of weeks ago as a guy up and coming. He has 2 hits on the year. He's hitting 286. He's 0 for 1 tonight, but he's like 2 for 6 or something coming in tonight.
Yeah. No sample.
Nothing else going on there, but this is a guy that has a ton of speed throughout the minors, decent amount of pop, not a ton, but decent amount, and a really good hit tool. So, but super young, 22 years old. So you never know how it's going to pan out, of course, but definitely the guy to keep an eye on. So I'm curious what he does this week. I like and dislike it. I like that we get a full week to watch him, but if he does well, obviously the price goes up. Where if he was available after one game going 0 for 3 and people saw his stats, maybe they would have been like, oh, maybe not. So that's the only downside of the situation, but we'll see. All right, let's get to it. Week 10 NFBC FAAB recap for everybody. If you are new to the show, we recap the NFBC Online Championship 12-team leagues because most people play 10s and 12s, but we'll also talk a lot of 15s along the way to give our thoughts on some of the most added players, most expensive players, so on and so forth from the week because maybe they're still available in your fantasy leagues. You get some thoughts there. Then we'll give our moves and more at the end. All right, Ben, the name that is atop pretty much every league. He was added in 54 main events. He was added in 215 online championships. He went as high as 216, as low as $3 in the OCs, as high as 231, as low as 38 in the main events. That is Daniel Palencia of the Chicago Cubs. Ben, we know Ryan Helsley's garbage. We've established that a long time ago. Porter Hodge goes to the IL this past Friday, I believe it was. And then even on Monday after the fact, they basically said it's no improvement right now. It's not a good thing. Palencia picked up his third save on Monday. He looked real good over the weekend. That's what got people in there. He actually looks potentially better than Hodge to begin with from what we've seen. Very popular target. I added him in quite a few spots. What were your interest levels on Daniel Palencia and your thoughts of what we could maybe expect from him?
Well, I don't know if it's because of the holiday weekend or what, but I only really had one team where I could use save help, and I didn't even put a bid in for Palencia. I got the situation in my mind as just like a short-term fill-in, but now I'm looking at Porter Hodge's player notes, and the update yesterday was, so after FAAB ran that, I guess he kind of plateaued with his recovery. Yep. And the oblique wasn't making progress according to Craig Counsell. So that doesn't sound too good. I mean, as someone who's stashing Sean Manaea with his oblique injury, hasn't gone as planned, that's for sure. But I mean, the initial timeline was early June as a return date, so it didn't seem like a long-term absence for Hodge. But you're looking at Palencia's stats, he has pretty decent underlying metrics. His xERA, xFIP, and xFIP are all hovering around 3. Has been very lucky so far. 178 BABIP against, a little elevated, 82.2% left on base against. Granted, it's only 18 innings as a reliever, so it's a small sample, and that's going to happen with relievers. Swing strike rate's okay. It's 10.6%. I mean, that's actually bad for someone who's supposed to be a closer. And his K rate, when you look at the swinging strike, is 26%. So maybe a little lucky with the Ks based on how he's missing bats. But I mean, Palencia seems like he's the guy right now. Let me check reliever recon. They actually have Palencia with the job right now. So that's probably because he has the last 3 saves. And I think usually they kind of go with, okay, 3 saves in a row, you're probably the guy. And I get that. It's just, who knows? I mean, if Palencia is good enough and then Hodge comes back, maybe Palencia that keeps the job. But there's I didn't look at like these metrics going into the weekend. It's just more that if in my mind, I felt like a short-term thing, like I said before. So he very well could keep the job, Palencia, but he's probably got to improve on the underlying numbers like I alluded to before.
Yeah, the underlying numbers probably aren't great, but he's looked dynamite in his closing roles, like throwing cheddar up there. So I'm hoping to get a handful of saves for a lot cheaper than people that paid for Luke Jackson. So that's where I'm looking at that one. A little update on Nate the Great. Eovaldi left the game with right triceps fatigue. It was precautionary. They don't expect him to miss time. Obviously hard to make that determination at this point in time. All right. The guy we said we'd talk about quite a bit once we got here, Marcelo Meyer of the Boston Red Sox, stud prospect for the Red Sox, picked up 198 leagues, as high as 215, as low as $1, Ben, because that's what OCs do. Always good stuff there. Meyer was hitting 271 at AAA with 9 home runs and 2 steals so far this season. He's hitting great to start the year here. He's hitting, if you include tonight's stats, he's hitting 308 already with a couple of doubles and a run scored, which is obviously great to see. In main events, picked up in 52 leagues, as high as 315, as low as 28. I got one Marcelo Meyer share across the board. I was not going heavy on him, so it's just a typical OC thing. But where were you at on Meyer?
I did get a share of Meyer in one of my main events, so I am all aboard the bandwagon. It seems like there's a good chance that he'll stick around for a couple months based on what happened with Bregman last time around with the injury. I don't think we mentioned before, but I think he missed 50 games, so probably 2 months. I don't know if it's the exact same quad that Bregman injured his last time, but I think people were saying that it might be, and that's part of the concern with the injury. Yeah, so Meyer is doing well in the minors, like you alluded to, and has gotten off to a decent start so far. I think he was starting versus lefties already too, which is a great sign for a rookie. So the Red Sox intend on playing him most of the time. Yeah, roster resource doesn't have enough platoon. Actually, his first game was versus a lefty, and I think it was a tough one. I forget who they were playing, but I remember watching the game or being attuned to it. So yeah, I like Meyer. He, I guess, probably because of where we are in the season, he went for cheaper than he would have otherwise. Like this was probably April or beginning of May. I'm sure he would have gone for a little more in FAAB. But yeah, I think he. I mean, of course, he can struggle. I say this with every rookie. But if you got him with I was a little over $100, and we'll go over the actual price, but within $100 or less, I think it's worth the gamble to see what happens because. To my knowledge, from what I've been hearing, I haven't been looking at it too closely, but the Red Sox are struggling. I mean, they have Carlos Narvaez batting third right now in roster resource for them. And
Narvaez is raking, so be able to put some niceness to the name there. But
yes. I'm sorry, I offended your catcher, but yes.
You hit the wrong guy to target. There's a lot of other guys: Christian Campbell, Trevor Story, a lot of other guys in the line.
I should know better, but yeah, maybe because he used to be on the Yankees. I recently found out from my Red Sox friends that maybe I'm a little salty, but. Nice. Yeah, like the lineup doesn't look good right now for the Red Sox. So I'm sure Meyer will play all the time, and as long as he performs well. So I think it's a good chance to take.
Yeah, they are on the struggle bus. They're currently getting taken advantage of by Cy Volley tonight. So it's just been one of those deals for the Red Sox of late. Zebby Matthews picked up in 165 leagues as high as 177, as low as $1. We mentioned this last week that wasn't available in that many leagues. After his, when he got called up, so we knew this would be the big one because he debuted on Sunday. Then he made another start later this week. 4 innings, 2 runs, 9 Ks against the Royals. So he's throwing 7 innings, allowed 6 earned runs, 14 Ks so far in his 2 starts. He was scheduled to play Seattle this week and then the A's in Sacramento next week. Honestly, Ben, I wasn't that interested in Zebby Matthews. I really am not. Like, he's looking like I know minor league numbers are great. They were great last year. I was more interested in getting guys that I could stream right now, I think, than Zebby Matthews. And I just don't feel confident in them giving him the innings just like David Festa all over again.
Yeah, I saw look up Waxman's FAAB report for the main event, and Matthews was only added in 1 main event, so I couldn't add him anywhere. But looking at his game log, yeah, he had a great last start, but he only went 4 innings to your point. He's gone 7 innings in 2 starts. Yep. And this is the issue with Festa, like you said. And I don't know. I don't get what the Twins' problem is with their starters going deep into games. It's not even deep. Just go long enough to get 5 innings. That's all we're asking for. Give him a shot. But, I mean, he does have 14 Ks in 7 innings, so that's a very good ratio. 4 walks isn't ideal, but it's a small sample anyway. And looking at the schedule for him, Seattle. So, I mean, and it's in Seattle on Friday, so who knows how that's going to go. But looking at the rotation as well, he's probably there for. Yeah, is Festa hurt? Oh, they sent him down, I guess.
No, Festa's in AAA.
Yeah, so I guess it's Matthews' shot now. Everyone wanted that, but yeah, I think wins will be hard to come by for a while with Matthews. I don't see him going 5 too frequently to start out.
Yep, that was my biggest concern. All right, let's go to Brett Beatty, Ryan's boy. Brett Beatty picked up in 138 leagues as high as 136, as low as $1. I agreed with Ryan, at least this week, that it's a really good schedule. You get the White Sox for 3, then you get the Rockies for 3. It's all right-handed, or no, it's 4 righties, 2 lefties, but let's just be fair. It's the Rockies pitchers. So good schedule this week, and then next weekend, the Mets are in Coors to make it even more interesting there. In the month of May, Beatty's hitting 280 with 5 home runs and a stolen base, so he's swinging it really well. Playing almost every day at third base. He sits against the occasional lefty, but really, really popular ad, as I mentioned, and it was 138 leagues as high as 136, as low as $1. So where were you at on Brett Beatty? Because I was quasi-interested, but weirdly enough, I didn't need a third base or CI that badly this week.
When he was available for me in my 15s, I never was in on Beatty because of how many times he struggled so far in the majors. But yeah, he's got 6 homers over the last 5 weeks. That's a great pace. And I pulled up his StatCast, and it's not terrible. His XBA is 254. Beatty's X-Slug is 484. That's very good. The barrel is the most impressive, probably. It's 14.9%. He doesn't qualify for the percentile, but he's pretty far up there in the barrel rate. Yeah, I mean, it could just be about time that he's finally figured it out at the major league level, Beatty, because he's been up and down so many times. I felt like he was going to be labeled as a quad A player for a while, but now it seems like maybe he maybe figured it out. And yeah, the last 2 times the Mets faced a lefty, he was starting. Granted, he batted 8th and 9th, but still, it's better than sitting.
Good.
Yep, you'll take it. It's too bad that Beatty doesn't have first base eligibility, though, because I feel like we need more first basemen in the player pool.
We definitely do.
Yeah. So I guess, it makes sense in a 12-teamer for the perceived upside with how he's been hitting homers lately. I just be ready to cut bait if he turns back to the Brett Beatty that we're used to.
I mean, cut Beatty.
Jeez. I did not even think about that, but you're welcome.
I'll be here all week, folks. Don't you worry about me.
I think I have to sign off, Bubba. I don't know.
Yep. Just getting warmed up for later. Don't you worry. All right. This one, I get it, but I don't get the prices. But maybe I'm just naive here. Matt Wallner picked up on 127 leagues, as high as 74, as low as $1. Matt Wallner is set to come off the IL any day for the Minnesota Twins. The Twins face all right-handed pitching this week. So, Ben, we all know that Wallner's got tons of power, also has tons of swing and miss. So there's like the yin, the yang, the ups and downs of all of this. I just didn't know the price, like the low prices. Sure, I get it. The high prices, didn't quite understand.
Yeah, well, I missed out on Wallner, unfortunately. So I guess this is kind of like where he was in the main, but I guess in the 12, it should be a little cheaper. So I get your point. Actually, there's a lot of 30s there. Only a handful above 30. But yeah, I think I was a runner-up in the two main events where Wallner was available. So I was kind of upset about that. And to your point, he did improve the K rate though this year. I think he was below 30, which is a huge step for Wallner. I think he only had one home run so far. Yeah, he only has one home run so far in 57 at bats, but it was early. I liked Wallner a lot late in the draft season because he was batting leadoff for the Twins, and I think he was kind of playing for lefties as well, which he wasn't always doing. I remember covering Wallner with you last year, and I think eventually the Twins did start starting him versus lefties, which was great to see. And I don't think his production really took a hit because of it. I think he's okay versus lefties. But yeah, I mean, just for the power upside alone, I think he's worth it. But kind of with Beatty, I think Wallner is better than Beatty. At least that's my perception right now. But like with the downside that Wallner has, he's got to be careful, and he could be like a 200 hitter for a extended period of time if he goes in a slump. But I don't know. I think he's worth a gamble, and I'm a little upset that I couldn't add him back because I did draft him in a couple spots. Like I said, I was runner up in a couple spots.
Yeah, for those that need the power, totally get it. That's just a go-to. But I guess my biggest concern is what day does he come back? Does it be to make it worth the while type thing? And then we already know there's a drain. As this guy in the chat, Ryan Bloomfield, says, if he improves his case percentage to 30%, it's a big step for Wallner. So, yeah, Ryan's big fan, of course. One of my top targets that we discussed actually on Bubba the Boom, Ryan, was an agreement as well, and he was the cover boy for my FAAB article on the Patreon this week. Chase Mydroth picked up in 112 leagues as high as 161, as low as $1. Again, the price not fully on board with, but the pickup totally agree with. Since Mydroth came back from the IL on May 1st, Ben, he's hitting 305 home run and 7 steals, 12% walk rate, 13% K rate. So phenomenal OBP skills, great batting average, tons of speed, and weirdly, the White Sox offense is at least producing a lot more than they used to, which the bar was very low. It's almost like Wallner striking out 30% of the time. So I think Mydroth is a great ad. He's going to be second base shortstop. There's a lot to like there, I think.
There is. I'm surprised pleasantly by the speed because I didn't think that he would project for this many steals. I think when Mike Carter mentioned Mydroth, he kind of said he was kind of in the Jacob Wilson territory with the profile. Yeah, fewer than 10 homers, 10 steals probably over a full season, but Mydroth is already at 8 steals, so he's basically there. But it's kind of weird. The sprint speed is only 46th percentile, so maybe they're just saying, okay, just run no matter what, the White Sox, and maybe he's just getting lucky. But yeah, the power metrics aren't there, so you're basically adding a rabbit, and you're hoping that the average sticks. But he doesn't strike out a lot. He does walk a lot, so that'll help with the steals. Mydroth's XBA is 274, which will play for sure. So you just can't be hoping for any power really. But he has one barrel and he has one home run, so that's probably all you need to know when it comes to that. It's just hoping for average and steals and a good lineup spot.
Yeah, sneak in some runs scored, hopefully. Like I said, they're starting to slowly score runs a little more often there in Chicago. Again, not a lot, but you know what I mean in that one. So anything is an improvement there. Aaron Gifts in the chat here says, I wish I got more my draw. Got a lot more Hassel, who was right behind him in the waterfall. And Hassel's coming up right about a couple plays from now. Noah Cameron of the Kansas City Royals was added in 111 leagues, as high as 101, as low as $1. Noah Cameron's been great since he was called up. He's thrown 6 quality starts so far, 6 innings or more, 2 total earned runs over 19 at third innings with 14 Ks and 6 walks. He's been very lucky. I'm not going to downplay that. 100% left on base, so on and so forth. Like a lot of luck factors involved there for Cameron. But he's been very effective. He pitches on Wednesday. Problem was this: like I liked having him this week, Ben, and I'm going to give you the floor to run with here in a second, because he's got a really good matchup for Cincinnati, who's struggling a ton versus lefties. I actually wrote him up already for the daily matchups article on Wednesday at HQ. Great stream spot for Noah Cameron. Problem was, Seth Lugo, we actually found out today, is due back here this week. He's actually going to start this week. Cole Reagans might have a rehab start this week, and he'll be back early next week. There's no room at the end for Noah Cameron, unfortunately. So I already knew this was like a one-start option thing, and there was a couple other guys I'll talk about in my ads later that were one-start options for a lot cheaper that I was taking a chance on instead of Cameron. Love the skill set, like insanely not good job security, so it kept me away. So what were your thoughts on Noah Cameron?
Didn't we talk about him a week or two ago? I feel like
probably because he came up. This is what he came up. He pitched on the 30th, went back to the minors, and he came back up. He's made 2 starts in a row. Yeah,
so it was that week, those 2 weeks in between. That's when he was dropped. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, he finally had a good strikeout game, Cameron, because he had 3 the first 2, and he had a 6-5 walk ratio, K to walk ratio after his first 2 starts. But now he went 8-1 against the Twins, so that's a big boost. But despite that, Cameron on the year has a 19.7% K rate. His swing strike is it's 11.2, so it's actually better than Valencia's. Go figure. But he only throws 91 miles per hour on average, roughly. Cameron, and yeah, to your point, they're about to get healthy. Hopefully, the Royals. I mean, I guess he could kick Lorenzen to the curb. He probably should, but these teams, when they make a signing like that, they like to stick with their guys. And Lorenzen has been relatively successful, even though it probably won't stick. But yeah, I kind of agree that Cameron's kind of a rental. Maybe he's probably in the same vein as Logan Henderson, but not as good. So
that's not cool. But
yeah, it's unfortunate. But who are they playing this week? He gets the Reds.
He gets the Reds. Great matchup for his lefties,
and they're home, and he's home as well, so you don't have to worry about.
It's a great stream.
It's great for stream. Sure. Yeah, but the 100 is definitely pushing it.
Yeah, I was looking at the ad drops. Most of them are 50. Like it seems like half of them is 50 and above. It's a bit much for me. Like I said, I'll mention some guys when I do my ad drops that I was streaming that had questionable 2-steps as well. With Cameron, I did notice a couple of dollar bids dropped Ben Brown for him. Interesting. I get it. Ben Brown's struggling, but interesting to make that kind of drop. That's 12s in a nutshell right there. All right. Carlos Narvaez, your boy, picked up in 99 leagues, as high as 65, as low as $1. Narvaez is crushing it. I mentioned him on the FAAB show last week. He's the primary catcher. No catcher plays every single day, but he's heavily in like the 2/3 to 3/4 role for the Red Sox behind the plate. He actually entered tonight with an 8-game hitting streak, 10 in his last 11 games. Pretty good stuff there. He's hitting .297 on the year with 5 home runs and a stolen base. I think he's a phenomenal catcher too out there right now.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed with looking at his weekly stats, Narvaez.
Yeah, you want to take that retraction back from earlier now? I just
want to know what Cashman was doing, letting the Red Sox get this guy.
We had Austin Wells, obviously.
I mean, it'd be a nice little tandem. They had Narvaez and Wells, have Narvaez versus the lefties.
They can't even get Ben Bryce playing time, so how's that going to work?
Oh my God! Don't get me.
Trust me, I'm pissed about that too because I got a few shares that just sits on my bench every week right now because I can't afford to risk the start.
Yeah, it was it was all in good fun, but on Waxman's preview pod for FAAB, he has Winokur on, and Winokur actually called out my tweet about Ben Rice sitting, and it was just because of I showed the StatCast page for Rice, but I mean, when you have Trent Grisham, who's gonna fizzle out eventually, it's just so frustrating. Even as a Yankee fan too, I want Ben Rice getting reps because he's 26. He could be the first baseman of the future. And instead of if you're gonna sit him, and I get it sitting him and then bat him 8th or 9th, But when Rice plays, he's top 4. I don't get why you're not playing a top 4 hitter every day. It makes no sense to me. Yep. But okay, I'm good. So with Narvaez, it makes no sense. 297. Even the Statcast isn't terrible. He has a great barrel rate, 12.7%. He has 13 barrels already, so he's kind of been unlucky with the 5 homers. And I forget who it was in the Discord the other day mentioned how it seems like the homer to barrel rate is down this year. Yep. And it seems like Narvaez is kind of suffering a bit from that. So he could probably have 7 homers by now, which is a great pace at this point in the season for a catcher. So yeah, I didn't really pay attention to this or didn't notice it with Narvaez, but he's been getting a lot of playing time since week 3. Even he had 19 at bats that week and has basically been in the mid to high teens ever since then. And I don't know what happened to Connor Wong, but I knew he was kind of sketchy as a repeat candidate this year, Wong, but I didn't even know who Narvaez was going into this year. So I think it makes sense adding him in 12s. And I don't know if he's like top 12 worthy for a 1 catcher league. I'd have to look at the player pool to figure it out, but definitely on the radar.
Definitely on the radar. He got most of his playing time early when Connor Wong was on the IL. Connor Wong came back and they couldn't take Narvaez out. It's pretty much how Narvaez has forced their hand. So I got Wally pipped. Well played on that one. All right, next one up here, Michael Lorenzen. Talk about a 2-step gone wrong already. Picked up in 99 leagues, as high as 35, as low as $1. Lorenzen faced Cincinnati, and he gets Detroit this week. And against Cincinnati, Lorenzen gave up 6 runs in 5 innings with 3 walks and 2 Ks. Not what you wanted. But he had 5 Ks or more in his 4 previous starts. He allowed 11 runs in his 4 previous starts. So I think we know who Michael Lorenzen is. I will say this much. The fact that he went for as high as 35, people didn't break the bank for him. That's a plus. But I think you kind of had to know something was potentially going to come out of this.
Yeah, this tells you how bad the start was to the start of the 2 week. Or the two-start week. Going into yesterday's game, Lorenzen had a 3.77 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP. He now has a 4.33 ERA and a 1.40 WHIP. So things got ugly pretty quickly. And go figure, it was the Reds who are kind of beat up. But I mean, if he keeps having these clunkers, maybe Cameron does take his spot in the rotation. I don't know how the Royals are doing in the standings, but I feel like they're relatively competitive for a wild card at least, or they should be. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, Lorenzen's underlying numbers are always gonna look bad because he doesn't get many Ks, and he throws kind of hard. I think it's just one of those guys who doesn't really get the results. So hopefully, if you did stream Lorenzen, I did play him in a main event, but that one's been struggling, so it's not at the end of the world. But if the Reds can beat him up, the Tigers sure can too. So you just got to hope that either he gets pushed or he figures it out again, because it could be an ugly final line. I mean, it already is ugly, but it could be even worse by the time we're talking next week.
Yeah, I know I started him somewhere, at least in a couple DCs for sure. It just didn't pan out. Obviously, didn't pan out on that one. Colton Cowser, people are jumping back in there. Colton Cowser's rehabbing. He's a week or so out, it looks like. Picked up in 94 leagues, as high as 179, as low as $1. There was a 179, a 176, 159, 159, and 159. Those 159s, all 4 out of the 5 are the same owner. Just going to put it that way. So someone really likes Colton Cowser. That's all I'm going to say to that. Lot of Colton Cowser love there. What were your thoughts on the addition of Colton Cowser? Because I've seen that topic in the Discord as well, as some were starting to spec on him coming back soon.
I would be all for it. I didn't get a lot of Cowser in draft season. I got him once when he fell really far to me, so I'm looking forward to getting back in that DC. But I just felt that he kind of, now that I look back on it, he kind of profiles similarly to Elliot Ramos, but Cowser's going much higher than Ramos. And, well, Ramos is outperforming him by a lot right now. But I think Cowser will probably play full-time once he's back. And actually, they're estimating on Friday as his return date. So it makes sense that he was added in a lot of leagues. The Orioles, let's see, is Kershaw the one? Will he get kicked out probably? Well, they probably need Carlson, maybe.
Yeah, they need an outfielder because O'Neill's out, and then Laureano went to the IL. Like, they need outfield help. Yeah,
so it's going to be either Kershaw or Carlson who loses playing time. But hopefully we have the weekend to figure that out. Because I think Carlson wasn't added in 12s, but I think he may have been added in the main event a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think Cowser has great upside, so I get adding him. I bet you that guy is an Orioles fan. At least I hope he is. Yeah, otherwise, I think like the $40-$50 range makes a lot more sense, but I'm all for the ad.
Yeah, I'm all for the ad too. It's just the typical me. I'm that guy, but price tag just didn't check all the boxes for me on that one. Slade Ciccone, this is a guy that I like what we're seeing, but I avoided it at all cost. Picked up in 90 leagues, as high as 71, as low as $1. I avoided him because Slade Ciccone was scheduled to pitch Wednesday against the Dodgers. Now that's been moved to face the Angels most likely, and now I'm angry at this situation because that would have been cool. Like right now, he's not even scheduled to pitch anywhere according to what's going on. But he was supposed to be Dodgers this week, Yankees next week. But it looks like it should be Angels and then maybe Houston. But the Angels start would have been much more intriguing. I'll say that much. Slade Ciccone's made 2 starts, thrown 11 innings, 4 in runs, 14 strikeouts to 2 walks, which is really solid. Where were you at on Mr. Ciccone?
So I think he was the ad last week in the main event, and I had him in my bid list. I just didn't prioritize him enough, but I was surprised at how aggressive people were in the main event at adding Ciccone because I thought my teens and $20 bids would be enough, but either I got somebody else or people were I think his average price was like $40-$50 Slade Ciccone. And then I'm looking at his player page right now, and he's actually managing a groin issue, so that's why he's not showing up on the probables list for the week.
They said he was just going to get pushed back like 2 days, but I guess we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, because they have Wednesday on RotoWire Junis, then Ortiz, Allen, and then Williams to close out the week. So maybe next week they have him in there again.
It's the Yankees.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
it'd be the Yankees.
That's just not good for me. No.
So if you started or added Ciccone and started him, this really hurts. But I guess maybe you could potentially dodge a bullet with the matchup. So in a 12, I guess depending on the news, he could be a drop next week if he goes on the IL or something. So it could be wasted fab. But I liked what we were seeing with him. I think he had pretty good. He had eight Ks in that first game, then 6, only 2 walks or across 11 innings. So he looked like he was figuring something out. He's only 25, so I think Ciccone would have been a great ad. It's just a little uncertainty now with the groin.
Yep, totally agree with you on that one. All right, let's go to the next one. I don't have a lot to say here because I've talked about it a million times by now. Kyle Harrison picked up in 81 leagues, as high as 98, as low as 1. Loved the pickup because Kyle Harrison gets a Marlins team that is horrible versus left-handed pitching this week, like deadly or dreadfully horrible. You pick the word. It's there. The only concern is Verlander might be back next week, so I loved him for a stream this week. Didn't go crazy for it. I ended up getting a lot of shares. Mentioned that in the Discord. A lot of Harrison shares this week, but I think his full-time run is a little farther away because, sadly, Verlander will screw that up.
That would be annoying. But, yeah, hopefully we get a good Marlins start on the weekend. You don't think that how's Birdsong been looking? He
got rough. He's getting the old third time through the orders not working so well right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, his surface ERA is 2.48 where I'm looking at right now. So that's going to keep him in. Yeah. He's got a case of the Twins guys too. 5 innings, 4 1/3. Those are only 2 starts because he was in the bullpen before that. So, yeah, it would be unfortunate if Harrison lost his job. It seems like it's Birdsong or nobody is like the only option for replacing him. Hasn't Roop been struggling though? But they like Roop, don't they?
They want to let Roop go. That's the thing is like Roop's only gonna have so many innings in him. Birdsong and Harrison, that's like kind of make it all work if that makes sense. Like they have to kind of save certain guys for certain. Like they're gonna all of a sudden Roop will go to the pen or something. They'll kind of move it around, and they still have Stud in the minors as well. So they have options. They just somehow need Verlander to go away. Would be the answer to that. All right, we're going to look at some of the most expensive players this week. Roman Anthony was picked up in 6 leagues, as high as $351, as low as $1. Someone scooted him by. I know I tried to add him. He was available in one of my OCs this week, and I did not get him, of course. But, the guy in my league got him for $185. Runner-up was 25. I think I was the 25. So that didn't go so well. And he could be up any day. Let's see. Matt Shaw was added in 40 leagues as high as 281. We talked about him a bit last week. Ben Shaw picked up his 3rd and 4th stolen bases on Tuesday. Would you be all about that Matt Shaw life?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have him in my 12-team keeper league, so I am getting a piece of his production. He had a great first week back, 9 for 25, 3 runs, 2 RBIs, 2 steals that week. So it seems like he whatever happened in AAA seems to be working so far for Shaw. And well, he's third base. Third base is okay. It's probably better if he had middle infield as well, like he does on Yahoo. But I think 281 is a little aggressive. I mean, there's definitely several outlier bids, but the range is that where he went for like $40, $30, $20. I think that's a great price on Shaw, and could pay off actually if he keeps this up.
Totally agree. This one, I still like, everyone knows my biases here, but Clayton Kershaw was picked up in 60 leagues, as high as 200, as low as $1. Now, given it was a 200, a 101, and then it dropped into the 50s. So, like, a little grace I will give to this, but still, he went 4 innings, allowed 5 runs in his debut. He went 2 innings, didn't allow a run, but it was a rain out, so didn't really get the full Kershaw experience. I don't think he's going to go deep enough into games to, like, actually be super. I've given my spiel plenty on this show. What are your thoughts on this continued Kershaw spending?
Yeah, it's just the name. That's probably all it is. And people think he's going to turn around and be 1.9 ERA Kershaw or something. I don't know. Those days are long past. And yeah, what happened in the last start? He only went 2 innings. Was it like a rain delay?
I said it was a rain delay knocked him out.
So it's hard to tell how he would have fared in terms of length in that start. But I mean, the first one, 8 base runners in 4 innings, 5 earned runs, definitely wasn't good. And isn't he throwing like not hard at all?
Yeah, he's not. He's looking like an old man that needs to probably stop. Like, and I mean that very nicely. I love Kershaw. If you're a baseball fan, you love Clayton Kershaw, but it's like an old MMA fighter. Eventually, you need to know when to hang it up, and he just doesn't know when to hang it up.
Yeah, he even has a 222 BABIP, and he had that rough start. 89 miles per hour on average is his fastball now. Never threw that hard, but it's down 5 miles per hour from when he was good. So it's he's not the same pitcher anymore, and I think it's probably you could probably do better in a 12, and even in a 15. I don't know if I would want to start him.
No. Clean your sheets. Gavin Sheets picked up in 31 leagues, as high as 170, as low as $2. So no freebies in this one. Sheets sitting 274, 10 home runs on the year. He's even playing versus lefties now. He took Chris Sale deep recently. It feels like he's doing the jock jam this year. He's this year's jock jam, if that makes sense. So I love adding him everywhere. I feel like people paid a lot for production they're not going to get, and hopefully you can kind of match that going forward. But any thoughts on Gavin Sheets? We haven't talked about him in a while because he hasn't really been added that much.
This is kind of like the Benson ad, because Sheets had 4 homers last week, and that's what happened with Benson the week before that. Yep. But to hear that he's actually playing versus lefties, that's kind of surprising, because even on the White Sox, they never let Sheets play versus lefties. Actually, I went to the White Sox, not the Padres. Come on, Ben. So, but they're beat up because, I mean, they kind of, the outfield's kind of shaky for them, but Sheets has been the left fielder or the DH. So, and he's even played first base in the past 6 days, which is going to help keep him in the lineup. So he's batting 5th in the Padres lineup, which is pretty solid. He's got a lot of good hitters ahead of him, and not the worst behind him. You got Bogarts 6th, Cronenworth 7th most days. So that'll help for sure. It's probably going to fall off to some degree at some point, but I guess keep playing him while he's hot. Sheets, I just don't expect him to be like a 30 homer bat, which is kind of like the pace right now. He has 10 so far, but I think his career high, we looked it up before, I think is like 15. So unless something clicks at 29, that's his age. I doubt it's going to stay like this, but you never know.
Yep, I'm fully on board with you there. It's not one I'm fully counting on, but I'm going to keep running them out there as long as I can. I want to hit on, just since we got some time here, let's talk about the main event. We mentioned Palencia, Marcelo Meyer. Let's talk about some of these other guys, because these will be probably conversation pieces next week. Let's talk Ronnie Enriquez, as he's been a popular spec ad as the Miami Marlins have been looking for some closers. He actually picked up a save recently. So it's like, do you want to play the closing roulette in Miami is what that question comes down to. He's looked pretty effective, though. Ronnie Enriquez added in 43 leagues, as high as 103, as low as $3. Ben, what are your thoughts on Mr. Enriquez?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned it before with Palencia, but I kept Tinoco on that one-man event, because it happened with Fauché and Tinoco. The Marlins randomly will have someone get a save, and then they go away. I still don't get what they're doing. This could be the same thing with Enriquez. I think he only has 1 save so far, right? That was the first one. So people assume that, okay, he got his save, now he's going to be the guy. He does throw pretty hard. I mean, it's not that fast nowadays, 96 on average. good K numbers for Enriquez. So maybe, I don't know. Well, his swinging strike rate 17.6%, 17.6. That's really, really good. So he does have the closer stuff, it seems like. But the Marlins aren't that good. I mean, it could just be like trying to play whack-a-mole with the Marlins closer going forward. I don't really feel strongly that they're going to stick to someone because they haven't yet. Even like Tinoco didn't really do anything to not keep the ninth inning role. I think the one bad outing he had wasn't even the ninth inning or something. But like reliever recon has it as Henriquez, Fauché, and Bender as the platoon. Why would Fauché be in the committee versus?
He's horrible. Yeah, he pitched like in the sixth the other day. He's not in the mix right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't think anyone knows what to do. I don't think the Marlins know what to do with their closer. So I don't get how we should know what's going to happen either. But he has the stuff. I just don't think. Well, the prices weren't that high. I don't think. What was the 103 is a lot. That was the outlier. Yeah, he was more in the 20s and the teens, Enriquez, which I get, but I don't know. It's probably going to be a waste of FAAB, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I get the idea of streaming for cheap and everything, and I know main events, every say, is a lot more valuable. It feels like than other leagues. Get it all. So I understand adding him, but I would have been very timid on those bids. Jorge Lopez added in 41 leagues. He's there to fill in while Kyle Finnegan's out. I would have been very tempered on those bids as well. Matt Vierling, this one stings, picked up in 41 leagues, as high as 55, as low as 4. Matt Vierling returned to the IL on Tuesday. Oh. So with his shoulder injury once again, so that's a bummer. What I want to ask you about, Ben, and Aaron Gifts mentioned it in his comment earlier, is Robert Hassel. Robert Hassel obviously got called up by the Nationals when Jacob Young went on the IL. Picked up in 39 leagues, as high as 75, as low as 3. We'll talk about him for sure next week, I think. As long as he hits. He's hitting 143 with a homer and a walk, or a homer and a stolen base so far. Were you interested in your 15s on Mr. Hassel?
I was, but I did not have pretty high bids for him at all. I was around $10, even less, because I was trying to conserve money. And he feels like a speed-only play, which is valuable, and also I don't know how long he'll be up because of he's just like an injury fill-in right now, and not sure how long Cruz will be out. I think it's either Young or Call is the other one who was hurt.
It's Young's on the IL.
Yeah, Jacob Young. So I'm trying to go to his player. I think, Hassel was a big prospect, but he's fallen a lot in the last few years. And if you're falling as a prospect, I wouldn't expect him to necessarily excel when he gets called up to the majors. The previous 2 years, so this year in the minors, Hassel was hitting 288 in AAA, which is pretty good. But the 2 years before that, 241 average, 221, only 15 steals those 2 years, and they were basically full seasons and 5 homers, 9 homers. So he wasn't really doing anything. He really fell a lot from his first full year, 2021, when he had 11 homers, 34 steals, and a 300 average. It seems like he's not the same player anymore. So for that reason, like I said, I was kind of tepid with my bids. I lowered them into single digits or low teens, and I was fine not getting him anywhere. But I could be wrong, and he could stick, but there's a lot of question marks with him, I think.
There are a ton of question marks. I stayed far, far away in 12s. Obviously, 12s, I could afford to do that. 15s, you had to make the move now if you wanted to be in the game. So that's the biggest difference there. A name that I have a feeling we might be talking about next week, and that all depends if Jacob Lopez can have a nice start against the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto, because Jacob Lopez looked really darn good in his season debut with the A's, and in the rotation, I should say. He was out of the bullpen earlier. He made a spot start like as an opener. They went back to the minor leagues, gets called back up, faces the Phillies last week, Ben, and Lopez threw 7 innings, 1 run, 8 Ks. Like, that is outstanding against the Phillies in Sacramento. I wanted to highlight, using Ryan's minor league leaderboard sheet, that over his 27 innings at AAA this year, Lopez had a 29% K to walk, he had a 37% strikeout rate, he had a 15% swinging strike rate, and a 40% ground ball rate at AAA. Like, he's been very, very effective there and looked pretty darn good in that start against Philly. One start, of course, so that's why I say if Toronto goes well, 12s will be quite interesting as a 2-step next week. In main events this week, Jacob Lopez was added in 35 leagues, been as high as 35, as low as 7. Any thoughts on Mr. Jacob Lopez?
I never even heard of him, honestly, until you mentioned this just now. I did not even know about that start. It was a good start looking at that. And he's young. I mean, he's old for being a rookie. He's 27.
27. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he had been up previous 2 seasons, but only like 10 or 12 innings those each time. So I was listening to you list off his minor league stats, and 40% walk rate's kind of low for Sacramento. You could probably want your guys to be 50 or higher, just because of how the ball flies there. But it's a small sample. Yeah, he would be home versus the Twins and the Orioles next week, and the rotation. So who's he filling? So
JT Ginn. JT Ginn went on the IL.
But I thought only one of Ginn and Hoglund could fit in the rotation at one point. Was there somebody else?
They were both in because Osvaldo Beto went to AAA.
Oh yeah, that's right. Beto got sent down too. I mean, he could. Yeah, so I guess Lopez could stick in the rotation. I mean, he could stink too. But yeah, so I mean, I just missed this one. I just didn't see that start, and yeah, it looks promising. It's just I would just be cautious with the Sacramento pitchers.
Most definitely. I just want to get your thoughts on this. Like we talked to Yarborough recently, he pitched great against the Angels as expected. We'll see how the Dodgers go on Sunday. That was the one that scared me to pieces. Robert Garcia picked up in 33 leagues as high as 122, as low as 9. Technically, Robert Garcia looks to be the main man in Texas for now as the closer, as obviously Luke Jackson stinks. Chris Martin's hurt. So you got Robert Garcia, who has 2 saves. He picked up the latest save for the Rangers, but he's given up a run in 3 straight outings. I stayed away from the Texas situation altogether. Wanted nothing to do with it. What were your thoughts on this Robert Garcia love? Because obviously very, very popular in the main event.
Yeah, I didn't even bother looking at the Rangers. If anything, I'm kind of interested in Rocker. I know they downplayed that rumor, but I think it makes sense for the Rangers to put. Sense. And also with Garcia, he's a lefty, and it's not like he's Billy Wagner or Sean Doolittle, someone like that, who's pretty dominant. But Jackson has finally been horrible, like everyone was thinking that would happen. Martin's out of the picture. Armstrong, I guess, is he hurt right now, Armstrong? No, he's there right now. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely pretty muddy right now for the Texas closer situation. I just don't think that it'll be a long-term thing for Garcia. But it's worth a shot, I guess, if you are really desperate. 122 is way too much money. That was the max ad in the main event. It's kind of an outlier as well. Actually, by someone who I know. 40s, 30s, that makes more sense for me as a flyer, but he could be like one of the biggest drops next week, possibly Garcia in 2 weeks. So who knows? But that's what happens with the spec closer
100%
thing.
100%.
You know, you're taking shots, and sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, it's like, would you rather go? We'll see. He went 122 is pretty wild, but then dropped down to 71 and below. So just one. Oh, Michael Govier picked him up for 122. Dropped your boy Seth Halverson in the mix there.
Oh, he is not my boy, not anymore.
I'm joking. Yeah, I just know we've talked about him many times. It's like, do I start him? Do I not start him? What do I do?
Yes. Too many discussions around him.
Yes. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll talk about more of these guys next week, but let's get to our ad drops of the week, Ben. So whenever you are ready, feel free to fire away.
All right. Oh yeah. So I did a little spending in the New Jersey main. This is where I got Marcelo Meyer. I dropped JJ Bleday 106 to 98. So that was a pretty good bid there. And then Cam Smith was dropped. So I added Cam Smith. I dropped Jordan Walker 64 to 38. So a couple of big rookie ads. And then this one is interesting. I'd like to hear your take on this one. I added Victor Caratini, dropped Edgar Caro 6-0. What do you think?
I like it for now because Caratini's playing a ton. I'm wondering if he plays enough when Jordan comes back. That's a big if. If Caratini's playing, he actually produces. I have nothing against this. I remember last year when he started playing a ton towards the end of the year, I started rostering him. So I have nothing against that move. I love Edgar Caro. We talked about it last week. It's just an empty batting average right now. There's like nothing else to it. Maybe it'll be something someday. Like, he's Alejandro Kirk, and it's just not happening. So I get it. You might have to stream somebody else again in a couple of weeks, but I get it.
Yeah, I was double checking the Jordan news, and it seems like he hasn't really been making a lot of progress. So I figured, okay, in this main, I'll add Caratini and drop Caro. But in my other one, I decided to hold on to Caro for another week just to see what happens because I couldn't drop him yet. The average is pretty valuable to me, but I checked his Statcast at Caro's, and he has no barrels yet. It's bad. It's like the weakest bat possible.
Yep.
So I figured take a shot in this one. This one's struggling, so I figured just try to shake things up. Then I added, this is ugly. I added Josh Bell. I dropped Andrew Vaughn 3-0.
Nothing for Josh Bell. That is something. Man, how things have changed.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
I just needed a backup first baseman.
Yeah, no, I get it. Damn.
And then I added Eric Lauer again, dropped Taijuan Walker 2-0. Lauer is sticking around. He's kind of like the long man and could be pretty valuable. On this, and my other main, Meyer went for 222, so it more than doubled my win in the other main event. Kind of crazy that happens. This one I got Conforto, dropped Verdugo 16-3. I added Ryan Gusto, dropped JT Ginn 14-9, and that was it there. And then main event 3. Oh, so this one had Casey Mize available. It was the only league with Mize available. He went for 161. I didn't even bother bidding on Mize because this is the one that's competing for the overall, and I need hitting more right now than pitching, and I couldn't afford to put all that towards Mize, but it was enticing, to say the least. And then a little bit of overspend here. I got Mike Talkman, dropped Jock 12-1, and then I added Yohan Moncada, dropped Taijuan Walker 8-3. Moncada's actually been pretty hot lately, but
yes, he has.
I sat him because Yanks had 2 lefties, and he's been awful versus lefties. And then this one, all feels right again. So in the listener league, I added Parker Meadows, dropped Eli White 24-21. Got my boy back.
Nice bid too. Nice.
Yep. And then I added Kyle Harrison, dropped JT Ginn here 8-6. So pretty efficient bidding in the listener league.
Beautiful. All right. In one of my OCs, I added Marcelo Meyer, dropped Gavin Lux. I only did it. It was like one bid. If this didn't happen, I kept Gavin Lux. I won him for $22 with a runner up of 3. Gotta love that stuff.
That's so pathetic.
It's like I literally thought I had no chance, but I'll throw $22 out there and see what happens. Like, you gotta be kidding me. This is also a league where like over half the bids had no runner-ups, so it says a lot about what's going on. This is the league. Roman Anthony went for $185 as well. Then I added Daniel Palencia, dropped JT Ginn 8-3. So those are my 2 ads there. You're gonna get Palencia is gonna be an name here often on my teams. Like in my Beat Bubba OC, I need closing help, and I have a lot of money still because people keep outbidding me on everybody. So I got Daniel Palencia 47-26. Ben, my drop, Zach Gallen. I have moved on from Zach Gallen. I have moved on. I have cut ties with him in 12. I still have him in a couple 15s. Still going to stomach that one for a bit. In 12s, I'm done. You look at his player page, man. It is brutal. He's pitching on Wednesday, so I already wrote him up for Wednesday, and it's tough to look at right now with how bad he's been. He's allowed 14 earned runs in his last 3 starts and basically 16 in the 3rd innings. It's been brutal. He's got 8 walks over that stretch. He's allowed 3 earned runs or more in over half of his starts. It's a 5.25 ERA, and which is horrible. And everyone goes, "Oh, it's Sierra." Yeah, his Sierra is a whopping 4.18. That's still a streamer in 12s is what it comes down to. And he's walking almost 11% of the batters he faces, a 12.7% K to walk. It's just been brutal. He's not throwing strikes. Like, if he figures it out, so be it. I dropped Sandy 2 weeks ago. I cut ties. I can't keep staring at that on my bench. I'm not going to start him, so he's going to get cut. So it's going to come down to 12. So moved on for Palencia, who already picked me up a save this week. He's done more for me in one night than Gallen has done for me the entire season. So that is great because pretty sure he was on my bench for his 3 good starts. So yeah,
of course.
All right, one of my 12-team standalones. There were 3 bids with runners-ups in this league, none others. Even Palencia, oh my god. I got Max Kepler, dropped Brandon Marsh 6-0. Added Spencer Horwitz, dropped Ryan Mountcastle 6-0. Added Jake Baldwin, dropped Michael Conforto 6-0. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Conforto did go deep. I'm still a believer in him. Just in 12s, I had too many outfielders, and I needed catching help because I have an injured catcher. The Bubba and the Bloom 250 standalone from Vegas. I picked up Carlo Narvaez, dropped Edgar Caro in that league, 22-0. Thanks for the runner up there, boys. Added Kyle Harrison, dropped Patrick Corbin, 22-12. And then I added Lennon Sosa, dropped Pavin Smith, 7-1. Pavin's good. He's just not doing much, and he's not meeting the expectations. And I wanted to mention Lennon Sosa. I talked about him a lot in the preseason for draft and holds. I think this was a potential people weren't looking at him enough in the draft season in OCs. He's second base, third base eligible. And if you just kind of break it down in the month of May for Lennon Sosa, now he's getting everyday at bats at second base, essentially. Dude's hitting 288, 2 homers and a steal. The power could be better. Not going to deny that. Batting average is really darn good. He's getting everyday at bats. And I think there's a lot more to like there. Even in May, the power's not there with a 7% barrel and a 51% hard hit. So he's putting good wood on the ball. I think there could be more to come there with Lennon Sosa. Probably more of a 15. Did get him in a couple of 15s, but I think it can't be ignored in 12s. A couple more, then I'll move on. Bubba in the Bloom Listener League added Cody Clemens, dropped Rowdy Tellez 17-11. Got that Clemens home run tonight. Added Lennon Sosa, dropped Daniel Schneemann. Schneemann went deep, 16-0. Added Logan Evans, dropped Hayden Wesneski 8-2. Like Evans is one that I wanted over Cameron for cheaper this week. I'm a believer in what Evans is doing. I could be totally mistaken here, but Evans gets Washington tonight, so I thought that was a stream I liked quite a bit. He could pitch this weekend if Bryce Miller doesn't return. Looks like he's going to, though. But I wanted to take the chance there on Logan Evans for cheap in that one. And I added Dean Kramer, dropped Justin Verlander 6-0. Kramer gets the White Sox this week. And I know it's a name you don't want to hear, but he's got a good matchup. Yeah, you should. This is a week to play him if you're ever going to do it. In my OLAC, the last team I will update here, got Palencia, dropped Patrick Corbin. Corbin, 3 great starts. I salute you. Got Palencia for 47, runner-up at 39. I got Kyle Harrison, dropped Luis Urias, 28, runner-up 18. Got Lennon Sosa, dropped Matthew Lugo, 21-3. I like Lugo a lot, but I feel like he's about to go to the minor leagues when Mike Trout comes back here soon. All right. Got a couple listener questions here. Then we'll head out of here, Ben. All from the Twitter tonight, which was very, very surprising. Dave Petroziello says, any small concern with my boy Will Vest still getting the job done, but the K's and swinging strike are down recently. Dave has commented on that as Will Vest got the save since said question tonight. He said, update, Vest save tonight, faced at least one hitter, I believe, for the second day in a row. Gives up with run and 2 hits with a K, 3 swinging strikes on 21 pitches. So still not meeting the standards that Petroziello was wanting. Any concerns with Will Vest?
Well, I mean, year to date, his swing strike's still 12% for Vest. The underlying the estimators are all below 3, which is very good. It seems like Vest is the primary guy now, and I think that's just enough to keep rolling him out there. I in that main event where I have Vest, I actually started him last minute. I have him, Martinez, and Munoz in my lineup, just trying to get all the Vest saves while I can. Granted, I didn't have the best other options as my SP7, but like he's throwing 97 Vest. The BABIP's a little lucky, the left on base is a little lucky, but I think he's fine. I kind of let me look at his weekly.
He's getting at least one save a week, at least it feels like.
Well, I guess the concern is last week he had a walk, he had a K and 2 walks and 2 1/3, but it's only 2 1/3. The week before that, he had 6 Ks, no walks, over 4 2/3. And then his outing yesterday, well, today he gave up a run and 2 hits, but he had 2 Ks, no walks over the last 2 innings. I think he's okay. It's not like he's a top closer that, I don't know. I guess the concern with that Dave has is because Canley's there, but it feels like they really like Vest as the primary save getter right now. And I mean, unless you're in a trading league, you can't really do anything with him anyways. It's more just like if he's going to be droppable at some point. But I think for now, you just got to hold on to Vest and use him if you need him.
Just keep him close to the vest, folks.
Jeez, that's number 2. Oh, man.
VP at futures_bet says, I know you'll hit on Daniel Palencia, but what do you guys think about him long term? I think he's the closer for quite a while, personally, unless he screws up. What do you think?
Yeah, it depends on Hodge's health, I guess. But like I said with the Manai and the oblique, it could linger a long time. I viewed it as like a temporary thing, so that's why I didn't really look into it too closely. But I could very well be wrong, and you could be right. That is Palencia's job. I mean, he has the stuff. He throws like 99 or something like that, so he definitely could be the closer going forward. And they're competitive, so they don't want to screw around with their closer.
Feels like at least a month. I'm gonna put it that way. Feels like
that's a pretty good time.
Just with the Hodge, like that oblique, it sounds pretty bad. So we'll see, though. We'll see on that one. Last one we got here. So our buddy Martin Sokolsky, Herrera has one. You're talking about the GOAT, Ivan Herrera, has 1 home run since his return. Should we be concerned? I am not. He's hitting like Rod Carew right now, but
Rod Carew. I
had to throw that one out there. You know, people might think Tony Gwynn or something. I had to throw a curveball to people out there. But I don't know. What are you thinking?
I mean, I think Martin's been a little over the top here. It was 2 full weeks. He hit 1 homer. He had 10 runs and 12 RBIs, and he hit 400. So, and he had a steal. I think he'll be fine. It's only a 2-week sample with 1 homer. Plus, he had 4 in week 2, so he could go off Herrera for a big homer binge. I would just be thankful that you have him.
Yes, I 100% agree. Having Ivan Herrera on your roster is a beautiful thing. But all right, Ben, we're going to wrap it up there. Another episode in the books. Week 10 FAAB in the books. My goodness, my friend. Any final thoughts before we head into, I guess we're already a couple days into the 11th week of the season?
I'll say I felt like a pretty light week in FAAB compared to some of the other weeks. Not a lot of big names. I mean, Meyer was big, but he didn't even go for that much money. So I think now that the wallets are getting thin out there in NFBC land.
I'm really interested to see what Roman Anthony goes for when he gets called up, because wallets are getting thin.
Is there still room for him though on the Reds? I mean, like, outfield's their strongest spot.
Well, they're showing how bad Wilyer Abreu's been right now. Like, there's a window where that could change potentially.
Remember how much everyone was loving Wilyer Abreu when he got off that hot start? It's what can happen. People get off the really great starts or really bad starts, and it can change very quickly.
Have you heard, Ben? It's a long season. A long season.
I may have heard that a time or so.
There's only a couple players that could sustain this for so long. But
it's not even that bad though. I mean, he had 2 weeks of sub 200, but he had a homer both those weeks. He didn't strike out that much. It looks like BABIP.
Wilyer Abreu is just fine, but that's the argument people are giving right now.
He got 12 home runs. He's in 256. He's a great defender. I think people just want the prospects up so that they can crap the bed, because that's what happens half the time anyway. If anything, have someone play first base, because they have Abraham Toro playing first base. That's a bigger issue.
Yes. That should be the biggest concern right now that they need to cover, is who plays that position, because Nick Sogard, Abraham Toro, like, they just traded for Ryan Noda. Yeah, none of those are the answer, folks.
No.
So we'll see. But all right, we'll wrap it up there. Make sure y'all check out Ben on Twitter at BreakingBen_T. I'm at BDentric. Until next time, this was Bench with Bubba, episode 766. Catch y'all later.